Good morning, everyone. Here we are Monday morning. We get to get our day started off with a dose of God's Word. This morning, I'm going to look at a passage that Jesus spoke of in Luke, the 12th chapter. A lot of folks, talk about world peace and, how, we just need to have peace with one another and all these types of things. But real peace is not going to be obtained with mankind. Why? Because men are selfish and men are prideful and men want what they want. But what Jesus did come to give peace with with the Father. Now Jesus makes this statement in Luke the 12th chapter. And here's a very interesting statement that he says. Luke chapter 12 and beginning in verse 51, he says, "Do you suppose that I came to give peace on earth?" Here's a concept. We're not going to have world peace. We are deluding ourselves and thinking that we can do all of these rules and agendas and all that, and make people get along. It ain't never work, and it ain't going to work. Why? Because there's just evil-minded people in this world. We could just see in our own day and time. We see President Putin and the things that he's doing to the Ukrainian people. We can see what Iran does. We can see what Islam does to their people and those that don't agree with them. We can see what these dictators do, those in China, and just different dictatorships throughout the history and even in our time. We can see how people are treated. And so peace among men is world peace among men. It's just not going to happen. And Jesus said, do you suppose that I came to give peace on earth? Now here's his answer. I tell you, no, not at all, but division. Now, what does he mean by that? What he's talking about here is a spiritual division. And there will never be peace because people today, just like in Jesus' day, have got their minds made up for the most part. And they believe what they believe, and maybe you get into a conversation with somebody and it begins to go along the lines of something they don't agree in, and so, well, we'll just agree to disagree. We're all going to heaven, we're just taking different roads. No, there's only two roads, and there's a road that leads to heaven, and there's a road that leads to hell, according to Jesus in Matthew the 7th chapter. But Jesus goes on, and what he's fixing to say here, I believe, shows us that there is an absolute truth. And what happens when some folks do not want an absolute truth, but in a sense they want their truth? This is what Jesus is talking about, I believe. Now he goes on and he says in verse 52 of Luke chapter 12, he says, "For from now on 5 in one house will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. Father will be divided against son, son against father, mother against daughter, daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." Now, why is this division going to take place even within a person's family? Now, again, he's talking to Jews. He's talking to religious people here. He's talking to God's people. Now, this division is going to come because some are going to want to believe Christ, and some are going to reject him. And there's going to be hatred, there's going to be animosity, there's going to be fighting and those types of things, disagreements, and it's going to divide relationships. And so what this tells us, I think this is a great point that Jesus is making here, and it reminds us, is there is an absolute truth. There's not a Christian truth, and then there's also a Jewish truth, and then there's a Baptist truth, and then there's a Pentecostal truth or a Mormon truth. There's the truth. For Jesus makes the point here. He says, I didn't come to bring peace, but not, he said, not at all. He would love for men to be at peace, but men are not going to be at peace because men want what they want religiously. I don't know how many times I've been asked this question. Say, well, why are there so many churches? Well, that's the reason why. There are so many churches because so many people want what they want. They want their version of God. They want their picture of God. They want their own doctrines. But, they still may be opening up the Bible, but it's a cutting and pasting type of thing. I say, I want this passage, but I don't want that passage. And so there's division within the truth. Now, the truth is not divided, but men divide it and break it up and parcel it out and those types of things. But this is a very important statement that Jesus is making. I did not come to make peace, but division. The truth divides. We have this saying, people say, unity in diversity. That in and of itself is an oxymoron. You can't have diversity and unity at the same time. In other words, it's saying we're just going to agree to disagree. What does Jesus say here? Does he give any indication that agreeing to disagree is going to be okay? He said, no, there's an absolute truth. There's not your truth and there's not my truth. There is the truth. And we're either in the truth or we're not in the truth. So Jesus is saying here, this truth, and those that's going to stand by the truth and defend the truth, then there's going to be those that's just not going to like it. Hence, we've got all these denominations, and so and all these different creeds and all these different doctrines and all these creeds and manuals and things that are written by men to say this is what we believe. But that doesn't make peace. It doesn't make peace with men, nor does it make peace with God. So what Jesus is teaching us here, very profound. We need to really learn and really self-examine ourselves and consider what the lesson that Jesus is teaching here. There is a truth. And that truth, we're either going to be in it or we're going to be out of it. And so there's your dose of God's Word today. And I hope this statement that Jesus puts forth to us will get our wheels a turning and understand that, unity in diversity is not the peace that Jesus is talking about. In fact, it's exactly what the point he is talking about. Here, it divides. It does not unify. It divides. We may agree to disagree, but that still has either got one of us still lost or both of us still lost, one of the two. But at least one of us is outside the truth. So we need to approach the Bible in a way to understand it so that we're not divided, but yet we are unified. I hope this will do you some good. I hope you'll take Jesus' words to heart. And we have these written for us because he loves us. He wants us to understand the truth. And so I hope these will do you good. Lord willing, we'll get back tomorrow and get another dose of God's Word to get our day started off right. And so I hope you'll have a great day, and we will see you then.